People of Reddit, what was the scariest paranormal experiences you have ever had in your life? So, the stairs to my attic had smelled like burnt hair for 3 days. Extremely odd because it was just that area and I have a very old, drafty house. On day 4, I came home from work just before midnight, and as soon as I walked through the door, I felt like I had someone standing over my shoulder, breathing down my neck. The feeling was so strong that I opened my medicine cabinet, so the mirror was against the wall. I also showered with the shower curtain open because I had a powerful need to see the room. After a shower, I was a little less on edge until I walked past my 4-year-old daughter's room. The door was closed, but I heard her talking in her sleep. Then I heard a loud crash. I slowly opened the door to find her sleeping on top of the covers and the pile of stuffed animals she insisted on sleeping with scattered across the room. I turned the light on low, looked around the room, and checked her breathing. All seemed well, so I went to bed. The next morning, I asked her if she had a bad dream. She says, "Yeah, there was a man with no arms and sauce on his face, and he kept laughing at me. I told him to go away, but he wouldn't. Then, an arm came out of the wall, threw me into the ceiling, and I crashed back down on my bed and went back to sleep." I ask, "Sauce on his face?" She replies, "Yeah, red like spaghetti." I grew up in seriously a haunted house, so it takes a lot for something paranormal to really scare me. I've seen things, heard things, you name it. Startle me, sure. Scare me? Nah. Here's the only time I've ever been actually scared. I lived in an apartment complex about 11 years ago, and other than some terrifyingly large wolf spiders, never heard or saw anything paranormal. Then the old dude who lived across from me had a party one weekend, and his brother died. Alcohol poisoning. His body laid there for over 12 hours, because everyone thought he was sleeping it off. After he passed, I would occasionally hear some odd sounds, but nothing major. Then one night, I was laying in the bed with my toddler waiting for her to go to sleep, and something blocked the light that had been shining into the room from the bathroom. I whipped my head up off the pillow and looked toward the door, and there was a black mass that was loosely in the shape of a person in the doorway. My whole body started tingling, and I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment, because I was terrified and unsure if it was a real person who had broken in or something paranormal. I popped my eyes back open and it was gone, so I hopped up out of bed and grabbed my shotgun and a couple shells and took off after it. The only door into the apartment still had both locks locked, and the chain was still in place. Windows were closed and locked. I checked under every bed and inside all the closets and didn't find anything. I heard noises again after that, but never saw anything again. I moved a couple of months later when my lease was up. For myself, I worked in a haunted bowling alley. Our deceased mechanic gave my ponytail a yank in a room where I was the only person, verified by security camera, and there wasn't anything to catch my hair on. He liked to be playful and wasn't malicious. Had one recently that happened to my husband, though. We live on a piece of property out in the swamp. Our house is pretty isolated. My husband woke up from a dead sleep to someone knocking on the front door. He said it was the exact mannerism I knock with, and then a voice said, "Honey?" Exactly the same way I do. He peeked over the headboard to the front porch, and no one was there. You can see the front door clearly from our bedroom window, and there's no hiding spots for one of the local crackheads to mess with us. I woke up in the middle of the night when I was like 11. I felt as if someone was at my bedroom door and looked. Saw a faint figure of a woman who was not my mother. Felt the hairs in my body stiffen and pulled the blanket over my head until morning. Previous owner was a lady who died there, obviously. It's my only paranormal experience. Still gives me chills recalling it. My wife and I used to argue that there was something in this house. One night after we went to bed, I rolled over to see her sitting up. "What's the matter, hun?" I asked, thinking it was a bathroom run or something. She pointed into the living room and said, "Someone's walking around in there." I turned and looked, and there was a silhouette of a man in front of the TV. He placed himself perfect to be seen down the hallway. He stood there, what felt like 2 minutes, staring at us. then faded out. Normally, when you see a shadow, it's gone in a blink. He did not do that. It felt purposeful, like we were supposed to see him. Very uncomfortable feeling. My first house was built in 1913. After moving in, I knew pretty much right away that I wasn't alone, because out of the corner of my eye, I would always see movement in the mirror of the built-in china cabinet. I also smoked back then and came out of the bedroom one morning to find the ashtray flipped off the end table onto the floor. Lots of little things kept happening over the years, but I never felt threatened or scared. We, meaning the ghosts, spirits, and I, coexisted in the house with no problems. My BF moved in, and after a few years we got married. I'd talk about these things, and he'd just look at me, never saying too much about any of it. He traveled quite a bit for work, so I was home alone a lot. One night, I was on my computer, listening to music and playing games. Plain as day, I was tapped from behind on the right shoulder 3 times. I screamed and jumped up, turned around, and no one was there. Scared the crap out of me. I told my now husband about it, and then he started opening up about the shadows he'd see moving around in my office. He talked about the footsteps he'd hear in the house when he was alone. The tapping on my shoulder happened one other time after that. When we were moving out of the house, and it was pretty much empty, I was there alone, cleaning, and I heard the footsteps he talked about. Whatever or whoever was there started to feel more menacing towards the end of our time there. I loved the house, but was pretty glad when we left. I heard a loud crash upstairs and went upstairs. The dresser had tipped over, nobody was up there, and I always keep all the drawers closed. No idea how it could just fall over on its own like that. At the end of my road is a cemetery. Walked my dog by there for years and never had an experience. About a month ago, I was parked outside of its gates and I heard loud footsteps running towards the car. About a week ago, I walked my dog by there again and took a Snapchat video of my dog for my partner. In the video, there's a voice of a man saying, "Thank you." Sent chills up my spine. I was living with my parents after college for a few months, back in 2011. They had a really creepy basement with 2 bedrooms down there. I was living in one of the rooms. Long basement with laundry and storage room and a long living room. One day, I was walking to the stairs and a penny flew out of the storage room into the living room right in front of me, about thirfed off of the ground. It did a big circle on the floor, then stopped. I immediately thought someone was messing with me, but I went in the room it flew out of, and there was no one there. I was actually alone at the house. It made absolutely no sense to me. From the trajectory it flew in front of me, there is no way I could have kicked the penny on accident. My uncle had just died of cancer a few weeks prior. Maybe he was messing with me from the other side. When I was about 14, 15 years old, I went for a sleepover at a friend's house. We stayed up late watching scary movies, etc. Typical sleepover shit. Anyways, we went to sleep in the same bed, and at some point in the night I could feel tugging on the blanket. So I opened my eyes, and I seen a hand coming over me and grabbing the blanket and pulling it off of me. At first, I just thought my friend was grabbing the blanket in her sleep, but I could still feel her back to mine, so there was no way her arm would be like that, while back to back. I started to prop myself up, and I seen a man standing at the foot of the bed. I full panicked and jumped out of bed to run my ass off to the light switch. I switched it on, and the man was gone, but her bedroom door that was previously locked and closed was open, with the knob still locked. I closed the door and tried to get my friend to wake up, but she was a super heavy sleeper. I have no idea how I managed to fall back asleep, but I did. I never stayed at her house again. Haha. I keep my closet door in my room closed out of habit since my room is so small. This is not too crazy a story, but I once had a dream that the closet at the foot of my bed was slowly opening and I could hear a woman calling out to me. I get up from my bed and look inside, and there's some kind of stain on my ceiling and the sound of someone scratching at it from inside the attic. Then she calls out to me again with her voice coming from the stain saying, "I can see you. Can I come down?" Then I wake up and my closet door is wide open. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, then please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Until next time, take care.